When news broke that Michael Jackson's own nephew, Jaafar Jackson, would portray the King of Pop in an upcoming biopic, the world stopped for a moment. It wasn't disbelief, it was awe. The resemblance was uncanny, the symbolism undeniable. Could anyone truly become Michael Jackson? For months, the world speculated. But when the first glimpse of Jaafar appeared, walking, moving, smiling like the legend himself, something shifted. This wasn't acting. This was inheritance. And before long, Jaafar would confirm what everyone had quietly suspected. This role wasn't about imitation. It was destiny. Jaafar Jackson never sought the spotlight. In his family, it was already shining. Born into a dynasty that defined modern music, he grew up surrounded by melodies, applause, and whispers of legacy. But where the world saw fame, Jaafar saw family. The cameras, the crowds, the chaos. None of that mattered compared to the quiet laughter around the dinner table, or the moments when his uncle, Michael, spoke softly about art, kindness, and the price of greatness. To millions, Michael Jackson was an icon. To Jaafar, he was simply Uncle Michael, gentle, curious, and endlessly patient. He remembered the way his uncle spoke to him like an equal, the sparkle in his eyes when he talked about creating something timeless. Those memories would later become his compass. So when producers approached him to portray Michael in the official biopic, Jaafar hesitated. He wasn't sure he could bear the weight of the world's expectations or the emotions that would come with stepping into those shoes. If I do it, he told himself, I have to do it for the right reason, for him. And with that, he said yes. Rehearsals began quietly. In a mirrored studio, Jaafar moved through the motions, guided by music that had been the soundtrack of his life. Then something unexpected happened. As the rhythm pulsed through the room, his body responded instinctively. Fluid, familiar, almost inherited. It didn't feel like acting, he said. It felt like remembering. Crew members noticed. The air would grow still when Jaafar danced. The way he moved, the poise, the silence, the subtle grace. It wasn't imitation, it was connection. It felt like he was here again, one whispered. From that moment on, Jaafar understood that this wasn't a performance. It was communion. Every movement was a conversation between the past and the present, a dialogue carried through blood, rhythm, and love. But as he stepped deeper into his uncle's world, the echoes of that love would begin to weigh heavier, and the price of carrying a legend's soul was something he was only beginning to understand. The name Jackson carries both glory and gravity. For Jaafar, it was more than a surname, it was a legacy carved in rhythm and sacrifice. Everywhere he went, people expected brilliance, perfection, a reflection of the man whose music had touched the world. And yet, behind that expectation was something quieter. The unspoken pressure to live up to a myth no one could ever truly match. From the first day on set, Jaafar felt that weight. The costume fittings, the choreography, the makeup. Each layer added not just authenticity, but responsibility. Every time he looked in the mirror and saw his uncle's reflection staring back, he felt the echo of a truth he couldn't escape. He wasn't just portraying Michael Jackson, he was protecting him. In interviews, Jaafar spoke of that responsibility with humility. I wasn't trying to be Michael, he said. I was trying to honor the person behind the legend, the uncle I loved. Those words became the heart of his performance. He spent endless hours studying not just Michael's art, but his silences, the moments when the spotlight faded and humanity appeared. That's where he found him, Crew members often described eerie moments on set, when Jaafar moved or smiled, and the room fell silent. It wasn't mimicry. It was something deeper, as if the past had momentarily stepped through the present. Even Michael's family felt it. When they visited the set and saw Jaafar in full costume for the first time, many broke down in tears. "It's like he's back," one whispered. But what the world didn't see was the emotional toll behind those moments. Each scene pulled Jaafar deeper into memories of his uncle, the laughter, the lessons, and the loss. He carried them home after every shoot, sometimes sitting alone in his car long after the lights went out. "It felt like he was with me," he said quietly. "But it also reminded me that he's gone." The deeper he sank into the role, the more he realized this wasn't just a portrayal. It was a pilgrimage, a journey through grief, love, and understanding, one that would test the limits of his heart and his spirit. And when the cameras finally captured that first glimpse of him as Michael, the world would feel it too, the haunting collision between memory and reality. When the trailer for the film was finally released, the world stopped once again. Millions of fans watched in disbelief. The resemblance was uncanny, not just in appearance, but in energy. The way Jaafar moved, the quiet strength in his eyes, the emotion behind every gesture. It felt like the king of pop had returned. If only for a few fleeting seconds, social media erupted. But amid the noise, there was one recurring sentiment. It doesn't look like he's playing Michael. It looks like he's channeling him. Behind the scenes, however, the transformation wasn't easy. The deeper Jaafar went, the more he felt consumed by the role. Days blurred into nights, rehearsals into reflection. "There were moments," he admitted, "when I couldn't tell where I ended, and he began." The weight of expectation became spiritual, almost haunting. There were nights when he sat alone listening to Michael's music, sometimes smiling, sometimes crying, whispering to the silence, "I hope I'm doing you justice." Then came the pivotal scene. Man in the mirror. The set was silent except for the hum of the lights. As the first note played, Jaafar's body seemed to move on instinct, not choreography. Every expression, every pause, carried the ache of remembrance. When the performance ended, no one spoke. Crew members stood frozen, some wiping their eyes. One producer whispered, "It wasn't a scene, it was a séance." From that day on, no one doubted. The film was no longer a production. It had become something sacred, a bridge between generations. Even those who'd known Michael personally said they felt his presence again, alive through Jaafar's gentle reverence. But for Jaafar, that connection came with a cost. Living inside someone else's spirit meant losing pieces of his own. The boundary between art and grief had vanished. Every time he looked in the mirror, he saw both himself and the man whose legacy he carried. And when filming neared its end, he began to realize something heartbreaking. To honor his uncle fully, he would have to learn how to let him go. When filming wrapped, the studio expected celebration. Champagne, applause, interviews. But Jaafar couldn't bring himself to join. He lingered on the empty set long after everyone had gone, the lights dimming around him, the silence thick with memory. "It felt like saying goodbye," he later said. Goodbye not just to a role, but to the presence that had followed him for months, his uncle's spirit, his laughter, his lessons. For a long moment, Jaafar stood still, breathing in the quiet, feeling both the ache of loss and the calm of understanding. He realized then that this journey had never been about imitation or fame. It was about healing, for himself, for his family, and for the millions who still carried Michael's music in their hearts. "I didn't just learn about my uncle," he explained softly. "I learned about who he was beneath the fame and who I am because of him." The project changed him. It stripped away the performance and revealed purpose. Every step, every note, every emotion had shown him that legacy isn't measured by applause, but by impact, by the hearts that keep beating in rhythm with the one that came before. Michael's message was love, Jaafar said. "That's what I want people to remember. That's the truth behind all of this." Now, as the world waits for the film's release, the conversation has shifted. People aren't asking whether Jaafar can be Michael Jackson anymore. They're realizing that through him, Michael's essence has found new life. The laughter, the humility, the humanity that once defined the greatest performer on earth are returning to the screen through the eyes of someone who knew him best. And as Jaafar steps away from the cameras, he carries something more enduring than fame: peace. Because, through love and loss, he discovered what the world had almost forgotten. Legends don't fade. They transform. And through those who remember them with truth and tenderness, their light never truly dies. Jaafar Jackson didn't just play his uncle, he honored him. Through love and truth, he reminded the world that Michael Jackson's story was never about fame, but about faith, art, and humanity. Some songs never end. They live on through those brave enough to sing them again. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories that keep legends alive.